It was a quiet Thursday evening when I received the text. My phone vibrated softly on the coffee table, and I absent-mindedly reached for it, expecting another spam message or a notification about a sale. But as I unlocked the screen, a chill crept up my spine. The message was from Mark. Mark had been my best friend since childhood. We grew up together, shared everything from school lunches to our deepest fears. But Mark had passed away 6 months ago in a freak car accident. I still hadn't fully processed his death. The funeral was a blur of grief, and his absence in my life was a void that I hadn't yet figured out how to fill. So, to see his name flash across my screen felt like a punch to the gut. My heart raced as I opened the message. "Hey, man. Been a while. I need to talk to you." For a moment, I just stared at the text, hoping my eyes were playing tricks on me. This can't be real, I thought. Maybe his phone number had been reassigned to someone else? But that didn't make sense either. Mark's family would have deactivated his line, right? My hand shook as I typed a reply, hesitant but curious. "This isn't funny. Who is this?" The response came almost instantly. "It's me, Mark. I need your help." I felt a tightness in my chest. My rational mind told me this had to be some kind of sick prank, but a part of me, a small, scared part, wanted to believe it was him. Wanted to believe that my friend was somehow reaching out from beyond. I didn't know what to do, so I did what I always did when I was confused. I called my brother, Jake. He was the sensible one, always quick to dismiss anything supernatural as coincidence or tech glitches. "Dude, someone's texting me from Mark's number," I blurted out when he answered. There was a long pause. "Are you sure it's his number? Maybe someone hacked his phone?" "I don't know," I replied, feeling more uneasy. "But they're saying it's him." "Mark." Jake sighed. "Look, it's probably some kind of scam or someone playing a messed up joke. Just block the number." I wanted to agree with him, but something inside me refused to let it go. I thanked Jake for his advice and hung up, but instead of blocking the number, I stared at the screen, waiting. And sure enough, another text came through. "Please, meet me. I don't have much time." My fingers trembled as I typed back, "Meet you where?" Where it happened. A cold wave of dread washed over me. Where it happened. He meant the place where he died, the intersection just a few miles from my house. The crash site. I knew it was insane. Every logical part of my brain screamed at me to stop, to block the number, and move on. But a deeper part, the part of me that hadn't accepted his death, needed answers. I needed to know who or what was sending me these texts. Before I could second-guess myself, I grabbed my jacket, keys, and phone, and headed out. The drive to the intersection was short, but it felt like an eternity. The streets were quiet, the usual city hum replaced by an eerie stillness. As I approached the crash site, the streetlights flickered, casting long, shadowy shapes across the road. I parked the car and stepped out, my breath visible in the cool night air. The spot where Mark had died was marked by a small, makeshift memorial, flowers, candles, and a framed picture of him smiling. My stomach twisted as I walked closer, my footsteps echoing in the emptiness. Then, my phone vibrated again. "I'm here." I looked around, heart pounding. There was no one in sight. Just the empty road and the darkened houses beyond. I typed back, hands shaking, "Where?" "I don't see you." Another vibration. "Behind you." I spun around, my heart leaping into my throat. But there was no one. Nothing but the dim glow of the streetlights. My pulse raced as panic set in. Was this all in my head? Had grief finally pushed me over the edge? Suddenly, I felt a cold breath on the back of my neck. "Mark?" I whispered, barely able to get the word out. The air around me grew colder, unnaturally so, and I heard a faint whisper, a voice I recognized but hadn't heard in months. "Why didn't you stop me?" I froze. It was Mark's voice, but it was distant, almost hollow. Guilt washed over me like ice water. I hadn't been in the car with him that night. I had canceled our plans last minute, too tired from work to go out like we'd planned. If I had been there, would it have made a difference? I swallowed hard, trying to keep my voice steady. I couldn't have stopped you, Mark. It wasn't my fault. The whisper came again, more insistent this time. You should have stopped me. The streetlights began to flicker wildly, casting erratic shadows all around me. I backed up, my heart pounding in my chest, but I felt like I couldn't move. Something held me in place, some invisible force that felt like dread, like guilt, like fear. And then I saw it. In the flickering light, a figure slowly took shape in the middle of the road. It was Mark, or what was left of him. His face was twisted, his body mangled, just as it had been in the crash. His eyes, hollow and dark, locked onto mine. Why didn't you stop me? He repeated, his voice now a guttural growl. I didn't know. I stammered, stepping back further, my hands shaking uncontrollably. It wasn't my fault, Mark. But the figure didn't stop. It moved closer, dragging one leg behind him, the sound of scraping metal filling the air. You should have stopped me, he rasped again, reaching out with a twisted, broken hand. I turned and ran. I didn't look back as I jumped into my car, my hands shaking so badly it took me a moment to start the engine. I sped away from the intersection, heart hammering, breath coming in ragged gasps. As I drove, my phone buzzed once more. I hesitated, then picked it up with trembling fingers. The message was simple. I'm still here. I threw the phone onto the passenger seat, eyes locked on the road ahead. Onto the passenger seat, eyes locked on the road ahead. Even though I was miles away from the crash site now, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was following me. That I had opened a door that could never be closed. And deep down, I knew that Mark would never rest. Not until I answered for what I couldn't stop.